with Operation Military Family Cares, and this is part of our Vision 2020 series. We've invited some of our speakers on to just kind of provide hope and just insight on how they're navigating, you know, the current pandemic. What are they doing? How are they getting their mind right? What are they doing to plan ahead? How are they going to execute on this plan? And we thought it would just be great to pull some of our speakers on and just kind of for you all to hear their story and how they're navigating forward and really what you can do in your own life. And so today I'm so excited about this. So Shellie Willis, she is a fireball. If you guys don't know Shellie, she is like, when she walks into a room, she owns the room. And I'm sure that I'm going to lose absolute control over this session. I'm not going to have any power by the time I'm done with this thing. So, but a little bit on Shellie's background. She runs a REDEFINE You Foundation, which is so cool. She really focuses on women who have served our country, their families, encouraging them, getting them back on a pathway to success. Her background, though, I mean, she former U.S. Army Master Sergeant, correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah, correct.
So, which means that she was, this is a child-friendly show, but she let's just say she kicked butt. So Shellie, welcome to this.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I know it's such an interesting time for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we started and we talked about Vision 2020 and the big, kickoff in May 28th, and the reason we're doing that is to help people really, prepare their mind and how are they going to have a successful 2020. And I think this topic is even more relevant today because everybody's going through a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And, whether it's emotionally or physically or financially or just, the weight of it, like how do we get through it? And I want you to start by sharing with the audience kind of your background. Like how did you end up in the Army? How did you achieve such great levels? And then what happened when you got out? Because I think that's a compelling piece because that's where REDEFINE You started, essentially, is having to redefine.
Yeah, it did. So, I was, a part of the oldest of three in a single family home. And I needed to find a way to make it through school or find a direction I needed to go, like most of us. And if we all know, we know where recruitment starts in our low to mid income areas. And most of us, for the majority of us, that's a way to find a better way, take some burden off my mom. So I joined the Army. My father said my mouth was too bad to go in the Air Force like he was. So he said I had an attitude issue and my mouth wasn't exactly user friendly. So he said maybe the best route for me is the Army. I went into the Army Reserves at first and, did the delayed entry, went into the Army Reserves. And when I got there, I felt like I had just wasted all of my time. So I went back to my recruiter and said, I want to go, active duty, airborne, you name it, let's go. So that started the journey. And 25 years later, I find myself a dual military couple, married to my husband, and we have two military children. And what military kids look, their lives are also very tumultuous, and they go through all of the things the entire family does. So fast forward, retired in 2013, went to work in the workforce development field, and that's where I've been ever since. I've not had any other job, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that. But the transition and discussion started then, the things that no one prepared us for. That's where that started. It was right before the major, everybody has to go, we're going to give you your pink slip situation. It was right before all of that happened. Yeah. But transition is constant. We transition from life to death. We transition throughout life. And when we don't address the challenges that we know we all are going to face, we don't discuss that. Our only goal was to get you from this job to the next job, not career, or this career to the next career. We're not thinking about anything in between. Everything in between could heal itself, right? We had resiliency, and I know Monique is on here. We had resiliency as a starter because we knew that there were challenges people would face coming back from, from deployments. And so as we all came back from deployments, there's these processes we had to go through. Then we had, resiliency training and trainers that you have to meet along the way in your journey. There's no resiliency trainer for when you transition out. There's no, and so there's nowhere to channel all the personal challenges.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to jump in here and talk about that. Because I think many people that we know are going through some form of transition, right?
mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
Certainly, and like I said in the kickoff of this, emotionally,
Mhm.
financially, all of a sudden, who they were in their job might no longer be who they are
Right,
today, right?
right.
And you and I have different stories. Like you got out and you landed in a great job and you've been there ever since. I got out and I went to 14 different ones, right? I mean, my mom thought I
Yes,
needed therapy. So,
yes,
it was different experiences. And to your point, today, people are struggling with this. Wait a second, everything that I knew has changed or is shifting.
right.
So, how are you dealing with that on an emotional level and really on a mental level, Shellie? Because I think there's a certain calm that people have when they go through transition, right?
Yeah,
And have experienced it. So, what are you doing on a daily basis just to get your mind right?
man, look, honestly, I have to find a place of peace. When you're transitioning, it's almost like a buzzword, right? It's almost like a buzzword, but
Yeah.
everybody's journey is different. And for me right now, anyone who knows me knows that I'm an extreme extrovert. I was talking the other night live, and I was saying how, my connection with people is very important to me. And so what I've had to learn how to do, but I also have moments where I start to kind of spiral a little bit. And
Mm.
I have to understand and identify if I'm going down into what I consider or what I call my sunken place. I have to know how to get myself out of that. So I've become very inventive. I've written myself little love letters in a jar, and
Oh,
just
wow.
things that I can go into the jar and I can pull something out if I feel like I'm going into a dark place, or if I feel like I'm just kind of, it's a sunken moment. It's just a
Yeah.
moment. But if you don't pay attention to things that put you in those places, and if you allow, it can be it's an idle mind, is what they call the devil's playground. So you want to
Yeah.
really find ways to keep yourself moving. I keep bringing up Monique because she resonates early in my mind when I'm thinking of, she put something out there about what we're doing, and she's checking on me every day. We're texting back and forth. I'm talking to people like her and Evelyn every day. There are people that are checking on you. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're checking on others. It helps you too. So while people are checking on me, I'm checking on other people I haven't talked to in a long time, even if it's a text. And now people want to do face-to-face conversation. I had 2 calls on WhatsApp yesterday. I think for me right now, it's not only being mindful of my own triggers and things and challenges that you might have, but also thinking that I'm not alone in this. Right now, we're on a level playing field. Everybody's struggling. And
Yeah.
this transition is hitting you differently, either economically, either through your health, mental health, physical health. So, but we're all being hit at the same time. And so just being mindful of, if I'm going through it and this is what I'm doing for myself, then I can do it for someone else. And I talk about the people who are always checking on me because they give me a trigger for me to check on someone else. So I'm not just in that sunken place and only thinking about myself. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about
See, I
everyone
love
else.
that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're talking about doing buddy checks, right?
Yeah,
That military terminology, kind of the buddy check,
right.
and taking your eyes off yourself, because you're right. If we spend so much time being inner focused,
Mm-hmm.
we can get in our own way. And I want to bring
Yeah,
clarity to that and say, I'm not saying that you avoid growth. This is an opportunity for people to dive deep and grow, like
yeah,
really, truly grow, right?
yeah.
And I love that you are focused on others. I love the little love notes that you write yourself. I think that's brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. Um, I might have to try that. My daughters, if they start to see me kind of go in this little weird place, they're like, "Hey, Dad, let's do a TikTok." Now, listen, I am just grateful that those suckers are not published, because I got to tell you, I know some of you might have, seen, I
You
published.
need to share those TikToks. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, those are horrible. Let me just tell you, those would probably get a lot of hits. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you would see just, oh gosh, you would see a white guy
It's
with.
about being uncomfortable in your own skin. When was the last time you had no distractions, no judgments? It was a judgment-free zone and you were able to just be you. And
Yeah,
sometimes a lot of us are scared of ourselves.
yeah,
We're scared of ourselves. So we don't want to give ourselves time to actually think about the things like, it's some stuff going on in a lot of our lives. A lot of us have things that we've suppressed for such a long time, and we've not had opportunity because of the distractions in the world to really deal with ourselves. And it's not a negative thing. It doesn't have to be a negative journey. It can be a time where you really are truly reflecting. What are some things that I want to improve? Sometimes when you use the word change, people look at that as a negative. But what are some things I want to improve about myself? You're lucky you have stakeholders in your home who are champions for you, who see you and they catch you before you go into that sunken place. But everyone doesn't have that with them, and everyone isn't as mentally and emotionally strong or firm or grounded, rooted and grounded. So it's a good opportunity for us to just take account and measure where are we? Where is it that we really want to go? And when we talk about vision, I can guarantee you a lot of visions, a lot of ideals or thoughts we had for ourselves are now changing because we're all in a place where we've been stripped. Not completely naked, but stripped of all of the things that make us comfortable in life. And so if you didn't actually pull yourself out of those moments, you're going to find yourself just like, oh my goodness, what do I need? What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? So on and so forth. So it's a good time to really reset. And it is a good time to redefine. I was on this journey. I was going on this trajectory, on this path. And I'm realizing that really wasn't the right thing for me. And now I can really sit down and just think about where should I really be going and where should I really be investing my time? What should I really be doing?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I want to unpack that a little bit because it's so important. I mean, we talk about, and I don't know why I never thought of this, but somebody said, we don't watch a whole lot of television, right?
Right.
And he's like, well, that thing's a vision, that thing's telling a vision all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I never put that together?
Wow.
And I'm like, it's telling somebody's vision, right? That you're taking that in, right? So if you're watching a lot of television, you are watching somebody's vision,
right?
That is, making an implant in your life. And I remember this saying. It was like, who do you want to be? And I think that's what you're talking about. Is this is an opportunity for people to say, listen, who is it I truly want to be? And if I were to really work on me for the next year, what is it I want that to look like? And so how are you helping people, or what do you suggest people do to really land on a plan? Because you're talking about a plan. You got to have a plan of action, right? You got to have a plan of action. You got to have a support network. So let's talk about that plan of action, Shellie. What are you recommending people do? Like, Shellie, help me with step one. What do I need to do in step one?
Well, you just said something I thought that was really key. You said support network. Some people call it our board of trustees, our keepers, our accountability partners is what I call them. And honestly, what I can say to you is, the first thing you have to do is be honest with yourself. It's
truth. Yep. What's your truth?
What's your truth? Identifying what your truth is and truly being okay with what it is. And then from that point, then you can start to think about, where do I need to invest in myself? We always, especially if you're someone that puts others before you, what can you do to feed yourself? Because you can't feed others if your tank is empty. You can't do anything for anybody else. So this is a time for you to refuel, but refuel with the right stuff. And it doesn't mean making self-proclamations and affirmations. It really means taking action and taking your time with those things you need to do for you in order to really shape who you want to be. And being accountable for that is where your board of trustees or your supporters or accountability partners come in. Reach out to a couple of people and say, hey, I've been doing some thinking and I want to ask you some honest questions, and be okay with the feedback they're going to give you. If people love you, they're going to give you honest feedback. They're not going to agree with everything that you say. They're going to challenge you in some ways, and that's not going to always make you comfortable. And be okay with that. Be okay with being uncomfortable.
Well, let's talk about that, Shellie. I mean, you say, be okay with uncomfortable, and people I think today are like, man, my whole life is uncomfortable. And now
your whole materialistic life is uncomfortable.
Right. right?
Yeah.
Not only that, but maybe their spiritual life, they're questioning
Spiritual life is not, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
They're, you know, emotionally, they're like, ah, man, and Shellie, now you're telling me that I need to be uncomfortable in really looking at me, and I don't know if I can handle that scary place. Like because you think about
Yeah.
the military, right?
Yeah. It's a
You know,
scary
those of
place.
us who served, mission, purpose, identity was assigned to us,
Yes,
right?
it was.
And then we got out, and then we're like, man, I got to go on this scramble journey to figure out who the heck am I. And
Mhm.
whereas those who have not served typically just go, you know, when I ask, so how'd you get your job? They're like, oh, I knew a guy, right? I mean, that's oftentimes how much thinking goes into that job, right? And
I
then,
knew a guy. Yeah, I
yeah, I
know
knew a guy.
somebody.
And then they build their dream around that income instead of what you're challenging people to do is say, who is it you really want to be and how do you want to live? And now let's figure that piece out. And that's going to require you, step one is to be honest. Oh my gosh. Like seriously, you want me to be honest? Like that's like
Yeah.
kind of a scary place, which now you're talking about in order to be honest, you need to have mentorship, right? Or what you call a board of trustees. So how
Mhm.
does somebody build that board of trustees? Like, how do you do it?
So I mean, it's over time. You really have to think about the people in your life. I can call out by name at least 5 people in my life that I can truly count on, that I know will tell me the truth. But they hit me at different parts in my life. So it's like you have different people who address you at different parts in different
Yeah.
parts of your life. So you don't approach all of them, you know, each person with the same question. There's something specific about the connection, the spiritual connection, the emotional connection you have with someone that will allow you to know, okay, so this person, every time I'm doing this thing, this is where they hit me at. So you can kind of strategically kind of navigate and think about who are those people that really are, it's not so much brutally honest, but they love me unconditionally. We have a great relationship. We have a great partnership. And I know that they will tell me the truth and it won't be coming from a vicious place. So you know you can talk to them and they'll walk you through. I always like to try to be as transparent as possible because I don't want people to think that I don't struggle. I'm
Yeah.
always, you can't be a person that tells everybody to be motivated, dedicated, and all this other stuff. And then behind the scenes, you're shrinking.
Yeah.
That's like, no. So I have people in my life that I trust will feed me what I need to be fed in a
Yeah.
way that it'll be received, and in a way that I can honestly say they will ignite me to move forward. But before I can go to them, I have to have a real truthful, honest conversation, debate, whatever, with myself, and be okay. This is her. This is Shellie. This is
Yeah.
what you get. Straight, no chaser. What do you know? And these are things I think that this is the direction I believe I want to go. And then what is that? Because when I left the military, nobody asked me how I was feeling until the doctor asked me. And when the doctor asked me, Mike, I couldn't tell him
Mm.
how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And it seems simple, but when I did the TED Talk, that's why I talk about that, because I didn't have anybody at that time that I could just say, you know, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm doing. And it's not about clinical stuff. It's not about going and sitting in a therapy session. It's not about a group session. You know, our minds don't turn and twist. So when you said we were given direction, yes, we were, but I didn't know how I was doing.
Yeah.
And I've had to kind of be in, and so that's where people are also now. I mean, they didn't know until they had to address it. So it's
Yeah.
like you're at a space where you have to address it.
Yeah. That I think is a scary place for many, right? I was
Yeah.
just on a call yesterday, and it was with a bunch of leaders across the U.S. and the question was posed, and it was a fascinating question. The question was posed: who do you trust to help you navigate through the COVID situation, right? To give you the all clear. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I was in that military mindset, like you know, back in the day when you'd give the all clear, you knew it was clear,
Yeah.
right? Like it was
Take
clear.
take your face
So,
mask off.
yeah, I mean, it was clear.
Breathe.
Well, yeah, you could breathe, you could do everything. And it was interesting to me. I'm like, man, I just trust myself and I trust my neighbors that we're gonna navigate through. So you don't trust the government. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, I don't distrust them, but no, I don't trust them to make this call because I don't trust them to manage my life, right? And I think what I hear you saying is, people are going to have to go to that place of answering how do they feel about this, because there was a lot of people sharing fear on that call, and for I
Mhm.
think the first time saying, I am fearful of how to make navigate this situation. And Shellie, when you transitioned, were you fearful, or were you confident that, it's all going to work out?
No, I wasn't confident at all. I really, I have I live a life of faith. I do believe in God. And I know most people right now would be like, oh, that's not, no, I believe, I love God, and so, but I don't think in my mind, I took a pause enough to let that fear take over me, consume me in a way. I had to move in my mind, like most of us, we moved, we transitioned out, we had to find a job. I never stopped to breathe or go to the beach, which was a mistake. And I always wonder if I had a declined, if I had not pursued any seeking a new career, if I'd have just took a moment to just breathe and get to reconnect with myself, I wonder where I would be. I never allowed fear to snatch anything away from me. I knew I had to do it. And it wasn't from a desperate mindset, because some people, there's a despair mindset. They know they have to have it. That's why they're moving. But I guess I just never allowed it to consume me.
Yeah.
And so that was my journey, and that was for me. But
Yeah.
I just never allowed it to consume me, because I knew if I stopped moving, that was my fear. What would happen if I stopped moving? And I
And
knew
now
I
people are
couldn't
having
stop.
to stop moving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and now it's like, now what? Now we're having to stop moving. And now, Shellie, you're encouraging me to really understand, what is my truth? And oh my gosh. Uh, and now you're telling me I should have people in my life that, need to help me navigate through that. And man, I don't want to show weakness. I mean, I'm sure there's
It's
probably,
okay, but that's the good thing. The moment you show weakness is where the help comes. You have to be vulnerable. I had to, not knowing how to communicate, not knowing how to love myself where I was at, not being okay with not being okay. And now all of a sudden it's okay to not be okay. People want to know that we're human. People want to
yeah,
know that all things are not good and perfect. Um, and that sometimes it's okay if you're living life in your PJs and you're going to work at the same time. And there are people out there who are parenting really hard, and they've never had to deal with their children all day because someone else has had them. And so there's these realities that are hitting me like, oh my gosh, little Johnny is really bad. I see what the teacher is saying, or oh my goodness, this is a habit I've had that really apparently aggravated people at work, but my family, now that we're all together, they're saying, why do you do that? And now I'm saying, oh my gosh, it's not just the people at work. It is really a problem I have.
yeah,
So, you know, it's all out there. Put it all out there and love yourself where you are.
yeah,
And then start to plant your garden so that you can grow from there, from here.
yeah. Yeah. So and I'm going to open it up to questions. I mean, people had, if they have questions, we'll fill those as those come in.
Yeah.
Uh, I think when you talk about planting the garden, or really, committing to personal growth, I was talking to one of my board members the other day, Shellie, and it was so funny is, everything that I said I probably should have invested in, I didn't, and I should have. And I'm like, well, what are some of the things that are growing, right? Like I joked and I said, I got to believe your investments in wineries is probably exploding. And he said, well, I should have invested in pot shops, and I probably should have invested. He goes, where I missed the mark was antidepressants. And I
Oh,
chuckled and I said, it's sad that is where people are at. So I really want to address this in just a limited amount of time that we have. Is people are struggling, right? They're depressed because they don't have a way to channel their frustration, or maybe they have way too much time on their hand. They're going online, and there's other people that are inputting, right? That are telling them a vision and casting this picture for them. Shellie, what would you say to somebody that is like, man, I am really struggling right now? Shellie, what would you say I need to do? Like, what is that first? And I know I asked this before, but I really, for me, it's that first 10, 15, 60 minutes in a day that are so critical, right? You and I both know this. So what do you say to that person who's like, Shellie, help me shape my day? What do I need to do within the first hour of my day?
In the first hour, it's all about guarding your gates. So whatever enters your gates, your eyes, your ears, whatever enters kind of can imprint itself on you for the day. Like I said, prayer, meditation. You can break it down in time. Read something that is encouraging, and maybe sometimes just sitting there and not so much getting in your mind, but just taking deep breaths. There's a lot of movement around meditation and positive thinking. If you have positive affirmations, read those positive affirmations in the morning. Create a routine for yourself that's going to allow you to not shift into the sunken place, but stay in a place where you are going to be able to refresh and reset often, and just protect your gates. Whatever you take in comes in. You either hear it, see it, taste it, or smell it. Make sure that those first few minutes or first hour of the day, it's all pure. Don't jump up, leap up, and start going and moving. Take your time and just sit there, meditate. I have had a call first thing in the morning, and I'm like, can I call you back in an hour? Can I have an hour?
Yeah.
Protect that time, protect your gates.
Yeah.
And really try your best to make that space your own personal space.
I love that. So there's a question coming in this from Monique, and she asked, how did you choose your path to assist other service members, number one, and number two, who are your mentors and coaches, and how did you decide on a mentor or coach?
So how did I choose my path?
Yeah.
My path chose me. It was something I really believe when I thought back on it, it was something I probably should have done 2 or 3 years pre-military separation, but it wasn't ready. It wasn't time. I had to be my own example. So I had to go through
the call. You answered a deeper call. Yes. So how do you recommend somebody chooses a mentor or a coach?
Usually mentors choose you. Usually people start to, there are people in your life that have really made a great impact on you. There's an impasse that happens, and every mentor isn't for your entire life. They're mentoring you for a reason. There's a connection that happens for a reason. The first one I had was Barbara Wazowski. She was my first professional mentor. She's the one that walked me through my journey to get my first job. Then the next person I met was Christine Rose, who I still stay connected off and on with Christine, but she was also a great coach just in life. And she helped me with my organization and my focus on what I needed to do to make sure that I did things and I was able to have an order in how I did things, because my life was starting to get full of appointments and go places and do places. She also taught me how to weigh out what it is, what mattered, prioritize. And it helped me to stop putting so many miles on my car.
Oh, see, that is so good. So these are piling in, and I'm going to have to cut it short, which is horrible. But she's got a great question out there. She says, "What is your toughest challenge right now, and how are you handling it?" It's a great question.
That's a great question. My toughest challenge right now is honestly loving my body. I've had
a lot of people's.
I've had some medical issues before all of this happened, and now I'm kind of in this space where the doctors got me trying different things, and I'm just getting exhausted with it. It almost makes me cry. But loving my body and being in a space where it is what it is, but you have to do certain things health-wise. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because I said it out loud. But loving my body, it's like, here you go, and just wanting to be healthy. So that's the thing I'm working on, is just accepting who I am, where I'm at, and and moving forward and living a healthy life.
I love that, Shellie. So we're gonna have to we're gonna shut it down, but which is Meaning we're giving people a taste, right? So we're giving people a taste.
Yes.
So to October, hopefully we can all convene in October and really just build
I
relationships.
hope so. I hope I see and hear all of you. Yes.
Yeah, it would be great. So how do people get in touch with you, Shellie, if they want to reach out to you?
So if you want to, we're on social media, Redefining You Foundation. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Redefining You Foundation. So please follow us and like us there. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at swillis _ CEO at redefinedfutureyou.org, or Eva's gonna love me, operations at redefinedfutureyou.org. And you can also, and so if you hit us up on any of those platforms, we respond very quickly. And just one plug, I am running for Miss Veteran America 2020. So I have Shellie W. MVA for MVA 2020. I have that Facebook page. So please follow that Facebook page as well. And you all just love yourselves where you're at, and take this time to revive and thrive.
I love it.
Redefining.
Shellie Willis, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you.
Bye.